Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the 20 Years of Cthru27 podcast. A podcast where we've been starting to unravel some of the most convoluted and pointless secrets in the 20-year history of Suffolk band Cthru27. As always, I'm your host, Richard Trigg, and in today's episode, I'm chatting with the super talented sculptor of sound, Cthru27 keyboard player, Mr. Liam Brown. Mr. Liam Brown, how's it going?
Very well, thank you. Yeah.
Ace to hear. Are we still collecting points?
Collecting bloody points. No, I didn't really remember that story anyway. I had to be reminded of that. But apparently, yeah, I did loads of foolish stuff to collect points, and in the end, the points weren't worth... Well, the points were worth fuck all, and a lot of it.
I spoke to our friend Henry about it.
Yeah.
He remembers it well.
Yeah.
He elaborated a little bit, and it was sounded like a fun night. And I'm kind of gutted I wasn't there. But yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you go back and listen to the episode with Johnny Leach, I think it's episode 1. You'll find out what we're talking about. Funny days. So Liam, let's go back to the very start. Your earliest memory of Cthru. What do you remember about the early years of the band and the conception of the band, or just like how we put the band together, or your involvement when that happened? What do you remember about that?
Well, I remember 3 distinct things, really. I remember the annex, where you used to put the tunes together.
Yeah.
I remember the band going to Fuzzy's in the early days to rehearse. And I remember the first gig as well.
Yeah.
And I think... in terms of the conception of the band, a lot of that went on in the annex.
Yeah.
You building the tunes and getting Johnny and Jess to do vocals on it.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like a CD, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was a sort of a self-titled CD or something, was it? Or
yeah, I mean, I at that time, I suppose it wasn't really a band.
No, it wasn't a band at that stage.
Yeah.
And the CD became known as Raiden, Please Drive Carefully, because that was what was printed on the CD.
That's
wasn't
right,
it?
yeah.
So I remember that, and yeah, so there was the CD of music that you'd made.
Yeah.
We were pissing about making other tunes as well.
Yeah.
Just getting to grips with the world of music, really, wasn't it?
It was,
and,
yeah.
And we were at college as well at that kind of time, so it was all new to us, and...
it was a little bit of new territory, really, I think, musically for us. It was for me.
Yeah. Because you'd been doing power trio type music.
Rock, yeah.
You know, rock, bass, drums and guitar, but now all of a sudden there was this computer element and this sort of, you can do what you want, multi-track it, put keyboards on. You know, the core of Cthru was kind of born out of that.
Yeah. And
yeah, I remember that there was just this process of, we've got the CD, it's got, you know, artificial drums and all this computer stuff on it. How do we turn it into a band? Yeah. We go into Fuzzy's and we get someone on drums, someone on bass, and we do it. Yeah. And they were my early memories of it. Like, same as what Paul said, I don't remember a lot of the details. Yeah. It's strange because it is a long time ago and I don't remember much about it, really. I only remember sort of one rehearsal at Fuzzy's with the band, which was like that first type of... Yeah. With Joe on drums and Barry on bass. Yeah. I only sort of remember sort of going there once. It is weird. And yeah, the first gig always stays in my mind at the Seagull Theatre with Joe on drums and Barry on bass, which wasn't, you know, the lineup in the end, was it? No. That was I think that was one gig with Joe, and then he left after that, didn't he? Yeah. I think it was that one gig. Which kind of was the start of the band, really. It was it was a college thing. We had to do a performance, and it was like, well, Christ, what am I going to do? And it was like, well, I've written these songs with Johnny and Jess. Oh, okay. So it was a college-related thing. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, so then we were like, we need to... Maybe I'll just try and see if I can do these tracks live. So that's it. We looked at the rockiest ones, and then we're like, okay, well, who's gonna be interested in playing these? And obviously, then we did the show, which I kind of remember, but not.
And then after that show, it was like, well, because we've been rehearsing it had kind of been a little bit different from what anyone had done before within a band. It was kind of like, should we just keep rehearsing and writing? And, you know, we did. But that first gig was the reason why the band exists, really. And Seagull, what was, you know, kind of a cool place to start, really, for us.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Seagull is one of those special places for the band because of the first gig and the fact that yourself and myself and Johnny and Flatty spent a lot of time in there.
Yeah, that's
in
right.
the college days, you know, making music, but also learning how to record bands like Mavis, for example. Mavis were on the scene, and I remember recording them and doing my own mixes.
They were a great band.
They were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Throw down your RV, get yourself comfy, and listen to a little bit of See-Through on podcast. Oh yeah.
What was your favourite venue locally, do you reckon?
Well, I don't know. I think the brewery was good because of the amount of people we could get there and the vibe, and it would probably go nuts there, whereas it wouldn't go quite as nuts in other venues. So probably the brewery overall. Yeah.
There was something that was kind of had a community kind of
a scene.
Of alternative outsiders. You could kind of just nip down there and probably find someone that you knew, or
absolutely. Yeah.
So it kind of always had a cool hang kind of vibe to it, really. What was your favourite ever See-Through show?
Well, if you know, the one that comes to mind straight away is Serbia.
Okay.
In 2006, because how tight we were was incredible on that.
Yeah.
When I listened back to it, I was actually surprised how tight, you know, the keyboards were, and everything was. Really.
Yeah.
It was, you know, we'd got it up to such a high standard, you know, from rehearsing a lot, gigging a lot, being together a lot, all those years together. So that was the best one in terms of being memorable and meaning something.
Of course, you were sitting down at that show.
Yeah,
due to having swollen feet, right, from sitting in the van.
Yeah,
and I remember. Obviously, that was pretty uncomfortable and horrid for you, but I do remember the funniest thing about...
It was funny as well.
It was a bit funny. It was funny when we went to... Was it a Red Cross or St John's Ambulance type place? Do you remember that?
Yeah, well, I had to... I went to like a medical tent or a medical place or something.
Yeah.
And they gave me an injection into my buttock.
That's right. But Johnny or one of us had said, wouldn't it be funny if he has an injection in his bum?
Yeah.
And I think it was a bit of banter and a bit of winding up about that. And then I remember you going in there, and it was like something out of Only Fools and Horses or something, because he was like silhouetted. We were outside, and you were silhouette of you, and then you could kind of make out what was kind of going on, and it was just like that, you know. I remember just that being as if that's just happened.
And then I think, from my memory, we'd played the show. It was getting light.
Yeah.
It's obviously in the summer, and I just went in an ambulance with Paul Billing over to the hospital.
Christ, you did, yeah.
And the hospital was kind of crumbling a little bit.
Yeah.
It was it was pretty shoddy. I went in there. The geezer could speak good English because I don't know whether he'd studied in America or something, and he asked me the difference between American and English and English. How do you pronounce ranch? And I said ranch, and he went, oh yeah, because in America it would be ranch. And so I remember that conversation, and then I remember having an X-ray. He said nothing's wrong with your foot or your feet.
Yeah.
And then I went to speak to the receptionist type person on the way out with Paul Billing, and she said, right, now you need to give us some money for the X-ray and everything.
Oh,
I opened up my wallet and there was nothing in there. And I just kind of looked at her, shrugged my shoulders, looked at Paul Billing. He said, well, I haven't got any money either. And then the woman just shouted at me, get out, and pointed at the door, and I just left, and that was it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Did anything ever come of that? Did you have to do anything?
No. And that was that. And
what a show.
Yeah, it was a good experience, seeing what the old Serbian hospitals are like.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose that day was pretty prolific anyhow, because it was like the coming together of a lot of work that we'd put in, and we were in that VIP bit.
Yeah,
at the top of the fortress, and
watching a bit of the World Cup or whatever it was.
Yeah, and the president of Serbia was there, and it's kind of exciting, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And so that was probably the best show, but other standout shows, Dublin Castle, I remember that being a very good show.
Yeah.
Just because it was in Camden, I think we had some people there. I think my mate Jake Bevan was there, and some people came on a coach. And it was just an awesome venue, the layout of it and everything, and that's another memorable one, I think.
Dublin Castle, yeah.
And I used to like Chopperfield Gardens in Norwich when they had bands on there. That was pretty awesome.
Oh,
I think we played that maybe once or twice.
Yeah, definitely.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah, I think one day at Chopperfield, we did Chopperfield. We packed down, got in the van, and then had another show the same day, went at the brewery or something. In a time where you could do 2 gigs in a day in a local area, now you'd struggle to even achieve one in a venue.
You struggle to do 2 in a year.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Who was your favourite band that we ever played with, and what kind of local bands sort of do you remember having an impact on you, other than Mavis, of course?
Well, yeah, let's get Mavis out of the way. Dacro were good.
Yeah.
Dacrophilia with Ben Rouse, the singer-songwriter for that band. Because they had just had amazing songs. The songs were just so good.
Yeah.
And obviously Ben's vocal was always good. So Dacrophilia, that's got to be one of them. Everyone mentions from that kind of time Crawl Blind, but I'm not going to mention them. I'm going to mention a band with a slightly different name, Craw Daddy. Don't know if you remember them.
Yeah.
I think Dave Colebrook on guitar, and I remember him kind of whipping up a bit of a whirlwind on guitar, a bit like Jimi Hendrix kind of style. And I remember them being a good band, kind of funky, slightly progressive,
I remember them.
Guitar solo-y. Yeah, brilliant. Other than that, Innocence or Otherwise, I quite liked them.
We did quite a few shows then, didn't we? Yeah, they're a great band. Brad plays in a band now called Prey Drive.
Yes, I know that band. Yeah. Good band.
He's a talent, that guy. What See-Through song do you think you have the strongest emotional connection to?
I like Under Milkwood.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of keyboards in it.
Okay.
No, well, it starts with the fat
the
fat synth at the start, which we love. And in the chorus, you've got some more melodic piano stuff. So that's a good one for me.
Yeah. I've asked this question like 3 times now, and I keep thinking about what mine would be. Johnny mentioned one of the new ones, which is Understandable, but hard to put in context because no one's heard it.
True.
But I was thinking the other yesterday, what mine would be, and I think it does change, but I think for me, it's probably The Good Life. Yeah. And only because I now associate The Good Life with watching that video of The Good Life with us all in the van going across Europe.
Road trip video, yeah.
So I think now when I hear or when we'll play The Good Life, I associate them 2 things. I think for me at the moment, that would be mine, but it's a weird question, and I think it does change probably for everybody on mood and.
But I'm just trying to think about it. I mean, with How Many You Kiss, I think when you listen to the lyrics, you get quite emotionally involved with the story and the feelings and the emotions from that. So that's definitely one. That's definitely one where the lyrics are so good.
Yeah, they are.
You get emotionally invested in it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think some of the new stuff, the way Johnny's sort of taken that, almost that same approach to the story in his lyrics, but sort of to another level that is. I find myself when we're rehearsing the new stuff, kind of forgetting what I'm doing and just listening to them words, which I don't think I've ever sort of done in See-Through really. I kind of just always kind of gone over my head a little bit, and I suppose it helps that I think his lyrics are pretty good on this new record. So
they're fucking amazing.
Yeah. What would be your favourite track to perform live?
I think kicking off the set with Radio N.
Yeah. That's what Paul said, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Okay.
No, yeah, that's fine. You can have that.
That must be because it's true for many of us then. So, yeah, I just think because the intro, when you hear that intro, you know what's coming.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's got some cool build-ups in it. It's got it's got a few drops in it which drop really hard, and
yeah. I know this is going to be a good question for you, Liam. What is your most embarrassing moment in C3?
Well, it's been a life full of embarrassment and shame, Trigg. And to pick one moment would be difficult. I remember having a rehearsal, somehow taking my trousers off, then the trousers getting taken out of the room. But I don't think that was C3, was it?
I don't know.
I think that might be a bit earlier in proceedings.
Okay.
It might have been a hookworm rehearsal. Embarrassing. I made a couple of mistakes with my playing, which I'm not proud of.
Okay.
Starting 2 for a 2 in the wrong key.
Okay.
Probably quite embarrassing. But that's my answer.
Okay.
If we're talking about off stage, which is I think what you're getting at. I don't know. You'll have to try and remind me of some things.
I think going back to the playing thing. I think my funniest memory, and I was discussing it with somebody the other day actually. I'm not sure why, but it was a moment where you went to come in. You might remember. You went to come in and you raised your hands ready to play the keyboard, and then the hands stayed above the keyboard. And brain went into, just not going to press anything. I'd have no idea where I'm going with it. I think
there's footage of that, isn't there?
There might be,
and that's why we know about it. Yeah.
I mean that's probably my favourite, funniest memory of you in the band in the day.
There's another one. I wasn't too embarrassed by it, to be fair. But,
no.
When we played at the Nelson and I had a few drinks before. Nelson Street, Norwich, by the way. Had a few drinks before. There's a really intense build-up, and I shut my eyes. I was getting into the moment, and I fell backwards when it kicked in. So that was quite embarrassing, I suppose.
Oh,
looking back on it, but again at the time, didn't care because I was in a drunken haze.
That would have been a great one to have on video. Probably been a TikTok smash these days. What are you looking forward to most about C3 being back, and what do you think the future might hold for C3?
Well, you've got to be excited by the new sound that we've got.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this, on the drive here. Is there much hip hop in it now? I'm not sure if there is as much. There probably is from Johnny's side of things.
Yeah.
I think now what we've got is some kind of rock and roll.
Right.
Rap rock and roll. I think what we've got now. And I just find that exciting because it's slightly different to what we had in the past. Because in the past we had sort of like How Many You Kiss or 2 for a 2 were kind of hip hop style played with, a heavy band, which is cool.
Yeah.
And we had some stuff like Shape Up and Shit Out, which is riffy heavy riffs. And now we've got some more groovy riffs in some of the new stuff. We've got some really interesting keyboard parts, some stuff that I'm really proud of.
Some great bits.
And there's some great guitars in there as well. And I just think some of the grooves and definitely some of the lyrics in the new stuff, all very exciting.
Yeah.
And love the new sound. Don't have to try and work hard to pigeonhole ourselves.
Yeah.
It just works at the moment.
Yeah. What do you think the future holds for the band?
Well, once we've done this record, I mentioned to you the other day that we should start on the 80s album.
Yeah.
Which is going to be very 80s, lots of nice keyboards in there.
Yeah, Paul said he's excited by starting work on the next one. It almost feels mental that we're talking about starting another record when we haven't even finished the first one, but I suppose that's kind of what the last year productivity wise has been.
You've been very productive with the tunes, so if you keep building tunes then we can keep making albums. And so I'm excited to do this new record and then do another record in a slightly different style.
Me too.
Swoosh time, podcast time, see-through style.
How's it felt to be back in a room with everyone again?
Oh, it feels great.
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be there's certain feeling that not that time hasn't passed.
Yeah.
We just pick up from where we left off.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, from 2013.
Yeah. Do you think it feels different to the first time around?
The first time around, as in back in 2001 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because we're all, or actually, especially myself, more mature these days.
Yeah.
And we've all grown on our instruments as well.
Yeah.
Myself, yourself in particular, but the rest of the band, on their instruments and their voices, so much more experienced, so much more world-wise and informed about music and other types of genres and stuff like that.
Feels maybe slightly more focused now.
Oh, it's a lot more focused, yeah, because I haven't got beer to distract me anymore.
Yeah.
Which was my main distraction.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a lot more focused, and the way that we're doing things now, obviously the obvious thing is that we're working with a backing track and a metronome.
Yeah.
Well, Paul's got that in his ear.
Yeah.
So working with a backing track is a different setup, different experience.
Definitely is, yeah.
I much prefer it personally because it makes everything nice and concise.
Slightly more disciplined.
And more disciplined in terms of the tempo and stuff like that.
Yeah. With these new tracks, the way that Johnny and I put them together, we looked at tempo and BPM a lot compared to how we'd ever done a track before. We were speeding things up, slowing them down, trying to get them just right, whereas before we'd probably just bosh them out and Johnny would just go on whatever it was kind of thing.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have the presence of mind to actually say, hang on a minute, what tempo is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose like now we're sort of playing to a click. Johnny can really excel, and he knows his pacing, which is really important with some of the phrasing that he's doing on the new record as well, I think.
But other than that, it's just great to be in a rehearsal room with Paul Emery again.
Yeah.
and the fantastic drummer that he is.
Yeah, absolutely. We're about to start tracking this new record, which will be our first new record in 17 years, and technology has really been on our side whilst we've been writing during lockdown and stuff, but it certainly wasn't always like that. When we recorded stuff like the Don Steps in 2002, we were, if you remember, we were tracking drums to tape and then trying to sync up those tapes or them tracks from tape on Cubase. What do you remember about being in the studio back then and the process of making those records in 2002 and 2003?
So we did the drums at the Seagull for the Don Step?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned tape.
Yeah, they all went down on tape.
Well, that's just amazing, isn't it? To be able to remember that far back that we were actually tracking our drums onto reel-to-reel tape.
Yeah.
If you said that to someone, a youngster musician these days, they would think that was something from the 70s.
Yeah.
But actually that kind of technology in the Seagull was still used.
Yeah.
2001, 2002.
And we took them tracks off the tape and put them on Cubase and then had to try and re-sync them up, and
that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal. And then we'd be plugging keyboards directly in, and I don't even know what we were doing, but I wonder if the process was as creative as it will be now.
Well, I think two things are going to be similar about then and now, and that is that if you rehearse a shitload, or if you rehearse really well, then you're going to be, you're going to have a lot more of an easy time in the studio.
Yeah.
It's all going to go to plan. You know what you're doing. Everyone's, it's cemented in your head, so you know how the tune goes down.
Yeah. Do you think you've approached the creative process?
Yeah, this was what I was going to talk about. Yeah, because back in the day, I would try and play something, and then I'd have people like Flatty and Johnny saying, "Well, why don't you do this, Liam? I think you should, try do this."
Right.
And people give me suggestions.
Yeah.
And their input, which is fair enough. That's being in a band, But when we were making this most recent record,
Yeah.
Obviously we're in a situation where we're all stuck at home during the lockdown, and I was creating and coming up with ideas, playing along to the tunes that you've sent me,
Yeah.
and no one else was telling me anything. So it was all just my own process and my own keyboard parts, without any influence from anyone telling me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I just found that, and that was brilliant. And I got some great results from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I really enjoyed that. And I think, I just think that's a great way of working, because it got some great results. Not that I don't want the input of the other guys in the band, because I do, but I just think
you left to your own devices somewhat.
Left to my own devices, and I think when you're trying to come up with stuff in front of other people, that can have a negative effect.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you're sat at home in the comfort of your own home, no one else about to bother you, just try out some different keyboard parts, and I was able to. And the way I find things happen on keyboards is there's a melody somewhere, and you play around until the melody kind of finds itself, and you find the optimum thing for the track, and that's how it goes down.
Yeah, well, everything sounds great so far, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. There's some great stuff on there from everyone, really.
Yeah. What's your proudest or most unforgettable moment in the band so far?
I would have to say 2013, Lady of the Lake.
Okay, yeah.
Very proud moment just to be back on stage with everyone and all our friends and family in the audience to come and see us, and the buzz that was created, and how good the show was.
Yeah.
You can see the footage online now, and it was an amazing show, amazing buzz. And one memory of it, which I always thought was a bit like as if we were Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. We all had a huddle together. I don't know, there was
That's right, yeah.
some words of motivation from someone somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay boys, let's do it. And then run down this little passageway onto the stage, and then do
all
it.
the lights are out, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was a very proud moment. As I said, all the friends and family in the audience. So
yeah, fantastic. I think that was Paul's one as well. I think, I think, and I said it before, but I think all them 2013 shows in their own right were kind of cool. Were really crucial. Like I've said before, I loved doing K-Fest. There was something really unlocal about it. I just loved it at a local festival.
It was wild. And
even the VW White Noise, like having to prove.
Yeah.
That's what I was there was no one there really when we started, but by the end of it, the tent was rammed.
Well, what I always say is, if there's no one in the tent or whatever, when you first start playing, don't worry, because when you start playing, people will come. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And you're right. We had to kind of win over a new audience, because we didn't have the security of these friends and people who would normally come to our gig. These were all just VW enthusiasts, and we had to win them over. So we went from the tent looking pretty scarce at the start to it being full of people, all totally into it. Yeah,
which was kind of cool with 20-year-old songs almost.
Exactly. Yeah. Other proud things. It was nice to get a tune on vinyl.
Yeah.
I was very proud to have that, because it's kind of like a bit of a trophy, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. Kingsley and NR1.
Yeah. So it's NR1 Records. It was a compilation.
Kingsley runs a great thing on Facebook where he kind of documenting all local to East Anglia bands and musicians from, I've seen some go back maybe the 60s.
Yeah.
I can't think what it's called, but it's a fantastic thing, really. It's a really cool project he's doing. He just loves music, and he loves East Anglia, and
we're a big part of that.
We are indeed, yeah. So shout out to Kingsley. Okay, so final question, Liam, and it's a question that you brought up the other day, which I thought was fantastic. So imagine if you can create a local supergroup from just local bands from over the years. What have we got going on? Who's doing what?
That's a good question.
It's your question.
Okay, so supergroup. You've got on vocals, Ben Rouse.
Oh, yeah, great.
Just because of the ability, the range,
yeah.
The whole thing. Bass guitar, that's always an interesting one, isn't it?
Mm.
There's a lot of good bass players out there. We're going to go Toby Butcher on bass.
Toby, okay.
Yeah. He's got a lot of ability on bass.
Yeah.
Very impressive. And I think that a lot of bass players kind of look to him and they think, wow, he does something that I just couldn't do, even though I'm a bass player.
Sure. So Toby from One Last Laugh, yeah?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. Drums. Well, it's difficult to look beyond Paul Emery, but is there anyone that we could put on? It's got to be Paul Emery on drums.
Paul Emery on drums.
Yeah. Guitar. Now, I'll tell you who's pretty good at guitar. Matt Pescod.
Yeah.
He's very good at guitar.
Yeah.
So,
from Cherry Wax.
Yeah.
And from Matthew P fame.
Yeah. So it's looking good.
Yeah.
And if I can't be in the supergroup, then obviously on keyboards, Henry Thomas.
Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, good choice.
From Cherry Wax as well.
Yeah.
If you're talking about years ago. And if we had to have anyone else in there, we could have another guitarist or something.
Yeah, could have another guitarist.
I'm trying to think if there are any saxophone or trumpet players that I know, and there aren't any.
Okay.
So another guitarist.
Chris Brown could be a shout. Great backing vocals.
And strong rhythm guitarist.
Strong rhythm guitarist.
Let's get him in.
Yeah, put him in. So we've got Paul Emery on drums.
Yeah.
Toby on bass.
Yeah.
Henry on keys.
Yeah.
Matt Pescod on guitar. Backed up by Chris Brown on guitar and backing vocals. And Ben Rouse frontman.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah. So you've got the beautiful melodies and songs that Ben writes, and you've got the lovely instrumentation from people like Henry and Matt Pescod.
Yeah.
And the solid foundations of Chris Brown, Paul Emery, and Toby.
Love it. Thanks, Liam.
No worries. It's been good to waffle on about the good old days and the band and what we're doing and stuff.
Absolutely. Love it. We're out.